welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate and I share all things health and wellness, spirituality, mental health, all the things. So thank you for joining me today. It has officially been 1 year since I quit my 9 to 5, so I thought I would come on here and share with you guys a little bit about my experience, why I did it, how I did it, and I'm gonna be real, raw, and honest with you guys about what it looked like for me to leave my 9 to 5. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions out there on social media and influencers telling you that as soon as you quit your 9 to 5, your life is just gonna magically turn around and everything's gonna fall into place and all your dreams will come true and you'll be a millionaire overnight. And frankly, that's just BS. So I just want to share with you guys an honest reflection of my experience, hopefully to put to rest any myths out there about leaving your 9 to 5, and maybe it'll inspire some of you guys too if you're thinking of doing the same. So grab a cozy beverage, get comfortable, and let's dive into it. So currently I'm working as a Pilates instructor and a dance instructor in addition to my YouTube and social media. But before that, I was working as an interior designer. I always wanted to be an interior designer or a ballet dancer since I was a little kid. So I went to school for interior design, got my bachelor's degree in it. I was trying to be a responsible adult and get a college degree that I could actually use for something. And once I graduated, I dabbled a little bit in dance and Pilates. I was dancing professionally with a company for a while, and then I was working at a Pilates studio. But then the opportunity came up for me to join this company as an interior designer. So that's what I did. I'm not gonna get into the details of my experience at the job just because it's a lot and that's like a whole nother situation and not something I really want to talk about publicly. But long story short, it was just not a professional environment. And to be honest, the job itself didn't really line up with my personal values. I felt like it was very much just about the bottom line and making as much money as possible from our clients. And sometimes that meant misleading them, kind of, and not being 100% honest with them. And that's just not who I am. So it was really hard for me to be in an environment that was the expectation. I feel like the structure of a 9 to 5 itself is just also, it's just not the life for me. Working 40 hours a week, like you only have the weekend off. We barely had any sick time or vacation time, and just sitting in an office, which by the way, there was no windows in this office. So sitting in a windowless office for 8 hours a day, doing work that wasn't even fulfilling to me, it was just not the job for me, and I knew it wasn't sustainable for me. And aside from that, like I said, it was just very unprofessional, like just, yeah, it was bad. So I honestly knew pretty early on that this was not the job for me, but I didn't want to just like dip out right away. So I made sure to have a plan before I just up and left. So while I was still working, I started layering in the things that I really enjoyed and I was passionate about. So I found a couple dance studios that I really liked. I started getting back into ballet and performing in the Nutcracker. I started teaching heels and burlesque. I think I started off only doing like once a month, and then I went to twice a month, and then after I quit, I went to once a week. So instead of just immediately shifting from working 9 to 5 to a completely different lifestyle, I started slowly adding those things into my life before I quit my job and completely changed my lifestyle. And then eventually it got to the point where one, I couldn't take it anymore, and two, I finally had other opportunities lined up that would support me after leaving my job. So I put my 2 weeks in and it was the best day ever. And I still am friends with people from this job, so it wasn't all horrible. Like, I met some really amazing people and I definitely miss seeing them every day. But quitting was the best thing for me, and it was such a relief when I was able to put my 2 weeks in and leave for good. But even though quitting was 100% the best decision for me, there was still a lot of things I wasn't expecting that came up after I left my job. So I want to be real with you guys and share what I learned along the way. So first of all, don't quit without a plan, okay? I'm not going to tell you that, it won't work out. So you want to have another job lined up, or at least another opportunity that will lead to something before you quit your job. Quitting a job, even if you don't like it, especially if you've worked there for a long time, it's going to be stressful. Just leaving that lifestyle behind and starting a new one. So you want to reduce your stress as much as possible. So making sure you have something lined up before you leave will greatly reduce your stress, and your nervous system will thank you. And making sure you have something lined up already will also just give you the mental space to be creative and do more of what you love, rather than freaking out, stressing, trying to find something at the last minute and searching for a job or income out of desperation rather than a grounded place. Okay, so you guys aren't gonna like this next one, but it's so true, and that is quitting your job is not going to solve all your problems. I really thought that my job was the cause of a lot of my mental health struggles, and while it certainly didn't help, I realized that I still had a lot to work through even after leaving that environment. I had this dream for a while to, start on social media and start my own business and pursue something more creative. And I thought that by quitting my job, I would just magically have the confidence to show up online and post on Instagram and start my business, all of these things. And unfortunately, to my surprise, that was not the case. I still had a lot of internal work to do. I had a lot of fears that I had to work through. I had to start going back to therapy and work through a lot of things. And, honestly, once I realized, oh, this job isn't the cause of all these problems, it actually helped me a lot and reframed things for me. I was able to look at things more objectively. I just had to be honest with myself. This is something that I'm struggling with. It's something that I need to work through and face head on if I really want to heal it and move on. I really thought that once I quit my job, I would just magically become this future version of myself that was super confident and successful and running her business and making lots of money, and that's just not how it works. I mean, for some of you, if that happens for you, great, fabulous. But that was just not the case for me. I had a lot of shit that I needed to work through first. But I finally feel like 1 year later, after lots of internal work and self-reflection, I'm finally in that place where I'm ready to feel my fears, do the scary thing anyway, and show up for you guys online and start my business and all of these things. But I just want to be clear, that did not happen overnight. So another thing that came as a surprise to me was just this mindset of working a 40-hour week and working Monday to Friday. A big reason why I wanted to leave the corporate world is because that schedule, it just doesn't work for me. And side note, I don't think it really works for anyone, but I knew that I needed to be more in control of my schedule and have more freedom and flexibility in that. For example, I wanted to be able to take a 3-day weekend, or take the morning off if I don't feel well, or maybe I'm feeling really inspired on a Saturday and I want to work on a Saturday instead. I knew I just needed that flexibility in my schedule to be most true to myself and create my most authentic and meaningful work. But I found that even after I quit, and I did have this flexible schedule of being able to decide when and where I wanted to teach and being able to take dance gigs as well. But I still had this mindset of you need to be productive Monday through Friday. You need to work 9 to 5, and if you're not doing that, then you're a failure or you're lazy or da da da. And I had to work really hard to rewire that mindset. I always knew that it wasn't the lifestyle for me, but what you don't realize is we've really been conditioned to believe this since like childhood. I mean, you think about it, even elementary school, you're going to school 5 days a week, what, like 7, 8 hours a day, all the way up until college, and then you go to college, which is pretty similar. You have a busy schedule, you have to be productive, and then you're expected straight from that to just go work into a corporate job where it's the same thing, the rat race, you know, it's just this cycle, oh my gosh, and it drives you insane. So even though I knew that I wanted more freedom and flexibility, it was still hardwired in my brain that you have to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, to be productive and be accepted by society. And I found myself feeling a lot of guilt and shame when I wasn't fitting into that box or that narrative. So like, I am not a morning person. I like to sleep in a little bit, and that's just what my body needs. But I still found myself beating myself up for not waking up at like 6 or 7 a.m. because that's what is expected of you and that's what everyone else is doing, so why can't I do that too? And I was really hard on myself for the first few months. I don't know, even like 6 months later after I quit, it was like, gosh, Caitlin, like, why can't you get it together? Why can't you be productive 8 hours, 9 hours a day and get up early? And it wasn't until I was able to be honest with myself and my needs and accept that they were different than this story that I've been told my whole life, that you need to work 9 to 5, yada yada, to be productive and successful. So once I was really honest with myself and was like, okay, no, I need more sleep than most people, and I need freedom in my schedule, and I need a day off for my period. That's when I was finally able to start curating, I guess you could say, and building the schedule that was the best for me. But I had to be honest with myself. I had to face those feelings of shame and guilt and really get to the root of where they were coming from. And it had nothing to do with me and my abilities or my productivity for that matter. What it really came down to was I wasn't meeting society's expectations of myself, and that led to a lot of feelings of shame and feeling like I was a failure. But then when you realize that society's expectations of you really mean nothing, it's really empowering, and then it allows you to create the lifestyle that you want. That being said, going from one extreme to another is really difficult and not always possible for a lot of people. Like, let's say you want to be a fashion designer, and going from working, I don't know, in insurance or something, and then just quitting and becoming a fashion designer showing at New York Fashion Week, it's a big jump. And like for me, going from working 9 to 5 to successfully owning my own business, that's a really big jump. So something that one of my mentors shared with me that I think is really helpful is the concept of a bridge job. So say you want to go from working in finance to being, I don't know, owning your own Etsy shop. That's a big jump to just quit and then go to that and expect it to be successful overnight. So the idea is that you have a bridge job which takes you from point A to point B, and it just bridges the gap and makes that transition a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. So for me, my goal wasn't to just be a full-time dance instructor or a Pilates instructor. I definitely wanted to do those things, but for me, the end goal is owning my own business and being my own boss. But I knew that just quitting my job and going straight into that wasn't gonna work for me. So the bridge job for me was teaching dance and Pilates, doing workshops and performing and doing dance gigs. And that was something that I started doing while I was still working my 9 to 5. And you guys, I feel like this is so important. If you only get one tip from this video, let it be this, that whatever you're working towards, start doing it while you're still working your 9 to 5, right? Like I said, you want an exit strategy. So you don't just want to quit and then you have no idea where to go and you get really overwhelmed and then it's too much and then you don't even end up doing the job that you wanted to anyway because you get too overwhelmed. So like I mentioned before, I started doing those things while I was still working my 9 to 5. I actually did all of my Pilates teacher training while I was working full time, which was a lot. It was exhausting, but I knew I needed to do that so that I would have that skill and that training to be ready to use and start teaching after I quit my job. And I'll be honest with you guys too, I had a couple of opportunities lined up after my job and they didn't work out and they fell through. And that was also something that I was not prepared for. I thought that I did my homework, I did the right thing, I had something lined up and I was ready to go, and then for various reasons these opportunities just didn't work out and I was kind of like, oh crap, I gotta figure something out. So I don't say this to scare you, but just to know that sometimes things don't always go according to plan and we need to be able to pivot and find a new strategy and find whatever is going to work for us. So just remember that everything happens for a reason, and if an opportunity doesn't work out, then it just wasn't meant to be. And sometimes that's a good thing, because when these opportunities fall through that aren't meant for us, it creates space for more opportunities that are going to be in alignment with what we want and the life that we're trying to create. So even though some of the opportunities that I thought were really going to be the right path for me didn't work out, I've been able to find ones that really are in alignment with who I am and what I want to do. And you know, it actually makes me thankful that the other ones didn't work out, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to accept the ones that did work out. So all in all, it has been quite the journey for me, leaving my 9 to 5 and learning more about myself and really what I need and what I want in my life. So hopefully this helps you guys, gives you a little more insight onto what it's really like. You know, it's not all like rainbows and sunshine. There's definitely some challenges that come with it, but I wouldn't trade that for anything, because if I wasn't brave enough and didn't have the courage to leave my 9 to 5, then I wouldn't be on this path that I'm on right now. So I've mentioned it a little bit throughout this video, hinting at starting my business, and you guys are probably wondering like, well, what exactly is that? So my whole goal and vision when I left my 9 to 5 was to start Solistic Healing Studio, and I'm so excited this idea is finally coming to fruition. I've been working on it really hard behind the scenes. Essentially what it is it's going to be an online community to help you heal mind, body, and spirit. I want it to be a little safe, supportive corner of the internet where we can all support each other on our healing journey, and I will be there to guide you, mentor you, and share all of the tools I've learned on my journey so that they can help you too. There's going to be everything from Pilates to guided meditations, self-Reiki, rituals, just all the things. And I'm so excited to be bringing these resources to you guys. It's going to be a monthly membership. You just pay one flat fee and you'll have access to the entire video library. And I'm so excited. It's going to be such a magical, amazing community. I'll be sharing more details soon, so if you want to be the first to know, make sure you join our newsletter. I'll put a link in the description below. That way you can get all of our emails and updates and be the first to know when this membership launches. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about leaving your 9 to 5 or my experience or anything, just let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!